What's up, everybody? This is Jay, and this is the Shy Season 2, Episode 9 recap for guilt, viral videos, and ass whoopings. Now, let's get into it. When it starts off, we see Emmett and Sonny's is up and running. He's happy. He's hooking up people with a little extra sauce on the side and everything, and taking care of the customers, and he's running the show. And then we see him look with pride on the wall, and he's Employee of the Month. So we see it's been a couple months since we last saw the last episode, and so now he's talking to Sonny about the reviews on Twitter, and he like, what they gonna tell me about cooking this yard bird? He say, well, look right here. It says right here the chicken too salty. That's a good thing. We can change. He like, hey, ain't nothing wrong. I got the best chicken on the south side. These people can't tell me nothing. How that's gonna work? He said, well, we can make baked chicken. He said, well, here's your check. He say, it feel good to handle business. He say, yeah, but that child support hitting me. Meanwhile, we see Detective Toussaint, and she's over there getting tacos from Brandon. And so she said, yeah, I heard these was the best tacos in town. He said, well, yeah, I can't deny that. She said, well, give me two. And she's peeping out that the guys is getting pizza delivered in the car or whatever, and so from Perry's. And so she's peeping game and trying to see what Brandon about. And Brandon is being nice and talking to her. And she said, boy, these is good. What you do? Put a little piece of heaven in between there? He said, nah, but I'm glad you like it. And she said, well, yeah, keep up the good work. You doing good. He said, yeah, I've been doing good enough to know people like it, but I ain't made no money yet. She said, well, keep up the good work. And so we see later Kev sitting in the hallway, and it looked like he in trouble. He over here contemplating some things. And then we see Big Mama roll up in pink, and she's saying, what's going on? And he said, well, my mom on the way. She said, I don't know. I heard you was trying to be Nino Brown. What's going on? And she said, he said, I ain't going to the North Side school. She said, ain't nothing wrong with that. And he's there. Next thing you know, the mama walk up, so she out of there. Mama mad. So then they had a conference, and he would miss the Bookman and everybody. And so they saying, well, Kevin, he doesn't have a history of this type of behavior, so he must have got it from somebody else. And Miles said he got the drugs from Kevin. And she said, did you get that information? Kevin said, I threw it away. And then Mr. Bookman said, well, why'd you do that? And he said, I'm not going to that effing school. And right when he said that, right in front of everybody, they do right there, like Menace to Society. You know you didn't fucked up, right? And so Mama look, and then Kev know he in trouble. Mr. Bookman like, do you need some time alone, or you need us to leave? And so she like, oh yeah. And so pretty much they leave him alone to get in that ass, and she took off that belt, and you can see her walking with it wrapped around her hand still. She didn't tan this little hide or whatever. And so that's type of stuff go on in the hood schools. This ain't suburban schools. So he walking around holding his little keister, trying to look cool in front of the kids, so they don't know he just got his ass whooped. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie with his head on swole, sweating. He waking up in the drunk tank. He wondering what happened, and we see Cruz telling him, hey, I'm gonna be on your ass. I know that you ain't nothing, and you a F up, and you gonna go to jail for killing Coogie Johnson, and I'll be there for you. And so Ronnie know he in trouble. Meanwhile, we see Emmett handling business when all of a sudden the track coach come up with a new little tenderoni. And so he saying, hey, yeah, I want to order such and such. And he said, oh, hey, man, I know you the little shorty that tried to run track, right? He said, you probably working here trying to save up all your little money, buy a PlayStation or Xbox. He said, nah, I don't play with kids. It look like that's something that you do, though. And so he like, oh, okay. Yeah, get this for my lady. Hey, baby, go on and sit down and get a seat. So she like, okay. And so he like, yeah, so what's up, shorty? You trying to save money or whatever, do this and that? He like, nah, I'm good, man. He said, well, look, yeah, don't worry about what I got going on. And then him is like, hey, man, I'm just trying to, cook this food. I ain't trying to do all that. And so meanwhile, we see Detective Toussaint, and they working on the case when all of a sudden Cruz came and gave her a little drive with some info. And so she like, hey, you right about Brandon. He said, oh, so you gonna leave him alone? She said, nah, I'm not gonna do that, but his tacos are good and he's a good dude. But I saw the guy still doing security on the truck, getting free pizza from Perry's. I don't know. maybe there's something going on with that Otis Perry. He said, please, as a professional courtesy, leave Brandon Johnson alone. She said, did you tell him about the case? He said, I talked to him about the case. She said, I told you don't do it. You jeopardize the case. If I don't find justice for Miss Ethel, that's on you. Meanwhile, we see Papa, and he upset still about that lunch he wasn't able to get at the field trip, and he telling the little hood mice about it, and he's saying, look, we may be poor and we don't have this, but Chance the Rapper gave public schools $1 million. Where the money at? She said, I don't know. That ain't up to us. We ain't tripping about that. He said, yeah, but when we went there, we didn't have the bus. We didn't have iPads or nothing. We should do something. So they decided to think, and they said we could boycott this or that. They said that'd be too much time. And so they decide they're going to let Papa run his mouth to try to get some more funding for the school. Meanwhile, Emmett still got his eye on little R. Smelly, and he's sitting there trying to put a little bib around old girl while he trying to feed her fries, and he telling Sonny about it. And he like, man, he said, that's your girlfriend, boyfriend. He said, well, she my ex, but he too old. He dating high school girls. He said, what? Sonny said, dating high school girls, and he pull out the phone. He about to call 50. Emmett like, no, don't do that. You can't call the cops. He like, man, that's what you do when you see a crime. He said, no, I got a better way to handle this, man. I take care of it. He said, man, I don't know, man. You going through an awful lot for some girl that ain't your girlfriend no more. And then we see young Kales walking out with the tenderoni, and now that got him a little salty. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie. He's coming out of the pen when all of a sudden we see beautiful Tracy there to bail them out, and she there to give him a hug and everything. And so Ronnie, he feeling a little better, got this little beautiful woman there, got his back. He don't know what to do. He need to get his act together. And so she's saying, what happened? You all right? And he like, yeah, I fell off the wagon. Meanwhile, we see Detective Toussaint, and she trying to put together the case on the map, and Cruz want to help. She like, man, yeah, right. He's like, no, I'm serious. I want to try to, get the, justice for Miss Ethel too. She said, all right, forget it. Look, this list right here is going with all of these homes that somehow had the people out front, then they was burglarized, and Family C is getting all the homes and the property. And so then they decide to look into it, and then they see that the owner of Family C Realty is going to be in town for the white girl murder. Meanwhile, we see Jake and Papa over there talking with Kev, and they like, man, Papa like, so what kind of whooping you get? Was it the switch? Was it the extension cord, or what? And he's Papa and Jake laughing, and he said, man, don't trip, I had them all. And then Kev said, man, it was the belt. He said, oh man, she went medieval on that ass, I understand. And so Jake said, dang man, I'm glad you ain't snitched, but I understand if you would have. And he said, man, y'all gotta go for mom's come, I'll really be in trouble. So they dipped. They like, all right, Kev, man, we'll see you. And so meanwhile, we see Emmett. He coming up to the school, at Keisha's school, and he running game at the secretary, telling her he needs to get her out of class. And she said she can't come out of class. He like, but I need them keys or else my mama won't get her medication. She said, medication? He said, yeah, she a diabetic. So he ran script real good. Old girl fell for it and ended up letting him in. So she like, all right, I don't want this boy mama to die. So he's hiding in the hallway while Keisha coming to the office, and he comes sneak attack, pull her to the side. She like, boy, what you doing? He said, I had to see you. I wanted to give you this. I ain't seen you in a while. And so he give her the shoes. She like, boy, what is this? And then she see this, the Marion Jones shoes. She like, I always liked her in these shoes. He like, yeah, and I got something else planned for you, man. I miss you. You my best friend, and I just want to take you on a real date. You deserve it. You was right. And so he trying to get back in good with that ill nana. And so she smiling. She fell for it. And so meanwhile, they go to the funeral, the detectives, and they see Big Red walking out. And so he's leaving out of there, and he got a 10-gallon hat, and they asking him, he the owner of Family C Realty. And so they say, can we speak to you a minute? He like, yeah. So they says, detective says, so is there anything in connection with Family C Realty and what is going on? He said, well, I buy the houses cheap and flip them fast. I buy them all over. So sometimes it is, bad problems, but it ain't nothing what I have. And she says, oh, is that the case? is family C, do you have any connection with the 63rd Street mob? He said, you wouldn't have asked the question if you didn't already know. Look, I play ball. Yeah, I grew up in the hood. Either the gangs chose you or you chose them. But I don't have anything to do with that. And then she says, are you using them for muscle to get these houses? He said, you know what? I didn't need this type of insult. I'm out of here. Meanwhile, back at the school, we see Papa and the Popettes, and they getting together their little strategy, and they like, you need to go out there first, Papa. It's your idea. Go ahead. And so he was reluctant and starting to get cold feet, but he decided that, he don't want no cold baloney, so he went on out there. And so the teachers was having a little conference, and so while they talking about the, money issues or whatever, Papa come out, and he starts talking. He like, where's the money? And then she like, Papa, you can't be in here. Stanley, you need to go. This is a teacher meeting. He's like, actually, this is where I need to be because this is about the money and this is where all those decisions is handled. And so she says to Mr. Bookman, tell your student to go. He said, I think you should let him talk. So she says, go ahead. So he says, look, Chance the Rapper gave public schools $1 million, but all we get is bologna sandwiches and have to sell 1,000 candy bars to go to the school. I just want to know where the money at. And so he said that, and then one of the other girls started recording him on the phone while the other Popettes is in the back saying, yeah, where the money at? And so he's saying, yeah. So I'm just saying, we don't have to look like the broke kids. We want better buses and better equipment. Papa out. And so he left a little moment right there. While back at Sonny's, we see Emmett, and he talking to Brandon about what happened with young Kales, and he telling him about the girl, and he's like, man, this ain't right. He keep messing with these high school girls. He the track coach, and I need to put a stop to that. And he said, man, I'll call and tell his mom, her mama. And he said, no, I got a better idea. And so then we see Reg, and they're eating chicken finger licking good. And so he like, oh, okay, that's messed up with dude on, but we can help you. We can take care of that. He said, what kind of car he drive? He said, BMW. He's like, what, 7 Series? Okay. He said, yeah, we can handle that. We take care of that. He like, look, I don't want nobody dead now. I just want to, teach him a lesson. And Brandon say, man, relax, man. Reg he gonna do what ain't nobody gonna die. And then he said, Reg, make sure you don't nobody die. He's like, look, man, we gonna handle dude. He need to get taken care of, but ain't nobody gonna get, murked. And so Brandon, he said, yeah, it's good to be part of the company, company got benefits. And so Brandon like, man, I ain't trying to do all of that, but he realizing it does. Meanwhile, we see detectives, they working on the case, and then they realize that the owner, Mr. Gaines, Lonnie Gaines of Family C, was in jail, and it just so happened that he was in jail in Selly's with the leader and founder of the 63rd Street Mob. So they like, hey, look, what does this show? They said it's no way that he's going to have anybody in the cell with him without approving it. And he was there for so many years. He's connected. It shows, he says, yeah, it looks like that they are connected, and maybe the 63rd Street Mob is working with him. And so they starting to put together the case. They say, yeah, that means we need to go talk to Mr. Perry next if he's connected. Meanwhile, we see back at Kev house, mama here knock on the door, and she goes to the door and sees that it's Brandon. And she said, hey, he can't have no company right now. He says, yeah, I know, but he came and talked to me when his dad died, and so I just wanted to talk to him. She said, he came and talked to you? She said, yeah. And he said, yeah, did he tell you about the drugs and everything? He said, well, I heard the drugs, but I didn't know about the girl. I mean, maybe it's the girl. She said, girl, come on in. And so he came. He like, man, what's going on, man? What you doing? And he just sitting there. He like, I don't know. He's like, man, you got to know something, man. You got a good house. You need the money. What you trying to be a dope dealer for? You can't let your friends tell you what to do. You letting them pick your girl. You letting them pick your school. You letting them do this or that. He like, I don't want to go to the north side. I ain't no sellout. He like, only person you selling out is yourself, Kev. You got good opportunity, but you got to take advantage of it. You can't be living for your friends. It's probably Reg's little brother you got the drugs from. And so he's starting to think and realize, man, maybe he is going down the wrong track. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie trying to get himself together with fine ass Tracy trying to ask him what's going on. I just fell off the wagon. It happens. I don't know. And she said, well, look, you was there for me. DUI ain't the worst thing in the world. You can get keep moving on. And so he's sitting there thinking. She said, you help me, I want to help you. And so now Ronnie's sitting there thinking about what's going on. Maybe he get his act together. Then we see Brandon walking home and Detective Cruz on the porch. And so Brandon like, man, what's up, man? What you doing here? And he said, it's sometimes cases and things that stick with you. And he said, so what, you gonna say my brother one of them? He said, look, I'm the one that told Ronnie Davis that I saw that we had Coogie Johnson over here, over the body of Jason, Ronnie's son. And so you should hate me, if anything. And so that left Brandon with some thoughts. Meanwhile, we see Papa and Kev leaving, and all these little kids run up like, Papa, you did it, man. You went viral. And so Kev like, what? And so Papa looking, they both confused, and they show him the video, and he like, you did it. And they saying, yeah, where the money at? And so Papa's happy he finally went viral and stuff. Meanwhile, we see young R. Smelly, and he's in BMW, when all of a sudden this G-Wagon just cuts him off, and Big Swole jump out in front, and they just pull him out the car and start beating the hell out of him in broad daylight right in the middle of the street in front of everybody. And so they beat him down real good like he stole something, and just stomp a little mud puddle in his ass, and then they like, all right, come on, let's go. And so they hop into the BMW and pull off while he laid on the floor shaking and twitching like he stole something. Meanwhile, we see Detective, and she's talking with Mr. Perry, and so she says, so why'd you invest so much in Brandon? And he said, did you taste them tacos? I'll make them money back in no time. She said, okay, well, it's got kind of weird how the 63rd Street mob is doing security for them. They work for you too? He said, look, I'm trying to help bring people and lift them up. And she said, okay, are you affiliated with the 63rd Street mob? He said, I know you didn't come all the way over here to insult me like that, did you? Meanwhile, Emmett is on the date now with his girl Keisha, and he bringing her to Brandon's house, and Brandon has set up a little place like a little Jack's Bistro from Three's Company. And so he take off the little blindfold, and he's sitting down, and he telling her, hey, look, man, I got a nice little dish for you. And they got the wine, and she like, oh, okay, this is nice, Emmett. And all you can see his teeth for a minute. And so he say, hey, look, man, he gonna be working for us right here, so you can just run him ragged. Then he like, yeah, whatever. So meanwhile, she said, so what's going on? Why all this? He said, man, I miss my friend and you deserve better. She said, well, I don't know. I'm still not in a good place right now. I just broke up with my boyfriend and stuff. So he like, you broke up? She says, yeah, it just wasn't going right and some different stuff. And he got beat up and car stole, but I don't know. Maybe it was good. I didn't know you was going to do all this for me. He said, yeah, you deserve it. And so now he realized he in there like swimwear. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, he walking down the street with his hat cocked to the side, and then he come up against Tony Soprano, and he say, hey, you coming in? And then we see that it's some type of AA meeting, but Ronnie a little hesitant, and he don't go in. He's standing there, just thinking. Wow, the dinner's over. Emmett's happy, and he say, man, where your girl? And he says, Brandon says, oh man, she out working for this new Barack dude trying to make it happen. He said, man, you better be careful, man. You know how women fall for that Barack. He said, nah, we good, man. But on a serious note, I want to know, could you be my best man? Because, like my cousin don't believe in it or whatever. He said, what? Yeah, I'll be honored, man. But you know what this means, though, if I'm your best man? He said, what? This means bachelor party. And so they like, oh yeah, and they start dancing or whatever the case, and that's just going to end up being an opportunity for Brandon to mess up everything. But meanwhile, we see Detective Cruz talking with Lieutenant Scary Curl. And so next thing you know, Detective walk in, and so they say, hey, we need to talk to you. Your son has been beat. And so she all sad and little feeling some kind of way. Meanwhile, we see Emmett hustling hustling at the chicken shack, and all of a sudden his little sexy baby mama walk in, and he all happy to tell Tiffany he got the little insurance, he can go get the little baby teeth fixed or whatever and all this. And so he happy, he handling business, but she ain't happy. And he sit down and he like, what's going on? And so she ain't saying nothing or whatever. And then she say, Emmett, I'm late, I'm pregnant. And then right then he realized he let that thing marinate a little too long, squirted too much baby batter up in her. Meanwhile, back at school, we see the shorties walking through, and then these little girls come up and they want to talk with Papa and Jake, come invite them to this little party. And so they like, yeah, man, it's gonna be tight. And so then next thing you know, they like, yeah, but Kev, you can't come. And he like, what you mean? They like, ain't nobody trying to be fighting Maisha over her man. He said, I ain't Maisha, man. They said, yeah, right. We saw that kiss at the party. And then Jake and Papa like, party? What party? And kiss? What kiss? What you on? He like, man, it was nothing. They like, look like Kev got a woman. You been creeping, man. They laughing or whatever. And then Kev is starting to realize that fat girls are fun until your friends find out. And so there Maisha, as he said, man, I only kissed her to feel sorry because I felt sorry for her. And then realized Maisha was there and heard it right behind him. And then she threw up the little finger and walked off. And now Kev salty because he knew that was a lot of fun and a lot of cushion for the pushing. So I don't know. In the end, I think that this last episode, too bad that the Jason Mitchell situation happened after the stuff was filmed, but I don't know how this is going to work out for them to be able to make season 3 flow perfectly with the rest of the seasons. But it looks like Jason gonna be in trouble, as well as some other things happen. It's unfortunate that Kev has hurt Maisha feelings, but that's the thing. You got to realize that you can't live what your friends want you to do. You have to do what you want to do. And that's what Brandon was trying to tell him. And hey, if he like to, get in that playground, go for it, But if you don't, that's another thing. But don't let your friends influence your decisions. And so that's the thing that Brandon is going to have to learn. And so it's hard to, do that when you're young, but we'll see. And as far as Emmett, I hate that he had, left a little soup kitchen in old girl for her to get pregnant again. He needed to contain that white gravy a little better. Maybe he should have, put on a little Ziploc bag or something, because, it looked like every time he put his little thing up in there, it shriveled up like a baby toe or something, because he don't know what to do. He don't know how to bail out or do other things. And the last thing he needed was another baby on the way and another mouth to feed, but I don't know. Hopefully things work out for them. Maybe they need to, be together or whatever the case. In the end, I appreciate everybody for watching. I hope that the Shy final episode works out, ties the show together. We'll see. Thanks for everybody supporting me at Patreon. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.